So welcome back to 300 Seconds on Agency Growth. I'm Patrick, and today I'm joined by the brilliant Sally Weavers, who is the co-founder of Craft Media London. So welcome, Sally.
Thank you very much for having me.
So Craft was founded 7 years ago in a counter to the advertising industry trends of downgrading strategic rigour, a lack of creative integration, and the sheer sea of sameness of media plans. Tell me about how Craft Media London started. Where did the thought come from?
So from a client point of view, they were telling me that, you know what, we no longer know whether the plan we're being presented is the right plan. It doesn't feel like our plan. There's nothing distinctive about it.
Right.
We're using the same channels in the same way as most of our competitors. Creative agencies said, we get the same plan out of media agencies all the time. And actually what they're trying to do is make the idea smaller rather than bigger. And we would love to have a brilliant comm strategist in the room with us when we're developing work, because they can, if they do their job properly, make work more famous. And then from a strategist point of view, and you know from when we work together, strategists are as rare as hen's teeth. And
Good ones are, yes.
They spend most of their time pitching.
Yeah.
And so there's a frustration amongst the strategy community that they never actually see most of the work in the real world. They pitch, you have a 25% chance of winning a pitch, and most of your thinking will be on the losing side. So they'll put their heart and soul into developing a strategy, and it goes nowhere. So there was a real frustration that they weren't being utilised in the right way. And so I had a thought that, maybe I could create a squad. And at the time, I thought it would just be a small number of squad members that would sit in the middle between creative and media and really do that bit of planning that it felt like the market really needed. If there's one question that Craft asks relentlessly is, what does this look like from a PR point of view? What's the role of CRM? So making sure that we're always thinking about the broadest channels.
How important is it for an agency to have a very sure-minded proposition and who you are and what you give to clients?
It's so important because all agencies are broadly the same. I had an experience the other week where I sat with my client watching media agencies pitch. So pitching.
I'd love to see that.
Oh
I've only
my
ever
God.
been on the other end.
My God, they all say the same thing, and they use a lot of shuns and distribution, optimization, personalization. They all use the same words.
Yeah.
And it's actually, from a client point of view, it all merged into one by the end of the day. They were pretty unsure who was who.
I think one of agencies' worst traits is, it reminds me of Catherine Tate, when someone gives her an impossible task and she just goes, I can do that. Yeah. You get that with agencies. They just say they can do everything, rather than like you guys are, focusing on one thing and doing it absolutely brilliantly. You have an interesting phrase that I've seen in some of your comms. It's the greyification of media. You touched on it to begin with, and we used to say the phrase, am I buying the plan or am I planning the buy?
Yeah.
And I think the second often happens far too much. I've got some inventory and I need to get rid of it because I have commitments to media owners, and I end up just planning my buy rather than buying my plan. How do you make sure your work is stand out? How do you make sure it's different? Do you have checks and balances, or do you just feel it, or how does it work?
We're an absolute pain in the neck for most of the buying agencies that we work with.
I can imagine.
And because we will never buy a standard package of stuff. We never want 300 ratings.
No.
We always want these 10 programmes. We never want a package of 6 sheets across the nation.
Do you still love it? Do you still enjoy it?
Yeah.
When you talk about it, it feels like there's still passion for what you're doing.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we're bringing through a generation of really, really well-trained comms experts who can hold their own against anyone in the industry. And yeah, I'm really proud of that.
So thank you very much, Sally.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you to all of our viewers and our listeners, and tune in next time for 300 Seconds on Agency Growth.